You didn't lose them. They lost the damn championship trying to play you like a warm-up game. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen one. A team walks into the finals, all fake confidence and glittery jerseys, acting like they've already won. They bench their MVP, you, thinking they can coast to victory with some flashy rookie who looks good under stadium lights but can't handle the pressure when the clock's ticking. They thought style would beat substance, but guess what? When it came time to perform, their new star fumbled the entire game. And the one they pushed away? You were the whole playbook. The offense, the defense, the clutch moment. You weren't just part of the team. You were the damn reason it had a shot at greatness. Let's ground this in something deeper than petty feelings, facts. Psychologically, people with secure, authentic love are often overlooked in a world obsessed with performance. Researchers call it shiny object syndrome. It's when people keep chasing the next best thing until they realize too late that what they left was actually the rarest energy out there. Your energy wasn't just real, it was irreplaceable. And now? They're in emotional bankruptcy, trying to cash checks from a connection that never had the depth yours did. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe to help spread this message to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. And thanks, chosen one, for being part of this mission. You are the part of a force. You're not just surviving this story, you're rewriting the ending. So let's get into it. They played games and lost the championship. No do-overs, no rematch. Because while they were busy choosing smoke and mirrors, you became a storm with direction. They mistook your stillness for weakness. They thought they could trade up, like you were some outdated model. They didn't realize they were holding on to a rare edition that doesn't get recreated once lost. And that's what stings them now. Not just your absence, but the knowledge that they'll never find another you, no matter how many people they try to line up next. They fumbled the most valuable connection they ever had because they thought the game was about status, not soul. They ignored consistency for charisma, depth for distractions, commitment for convenience. You wanted growth. They wanted giggles and shallow validation. You were the marathon runner, training, bleeding, showing up. They wanted someone already at the finish line, only to find out that person cheated their way there and had nothing real to offer. And don't let their silence fool you. That regret? It's loud. Oh, they won't say it. Not out loud. That would mean admitting they were wrong, and people who play games don't like owning their losses. But it's there, in the way they lurk, in the way they bring you up casually like you're just some memory. In the way they try to mimic your energy through others, hoping to recreate what you gave them without ever admitting you were the blueprint. You see, chosen one, they weren't ready for real. That's the truth. Real requires accountability. Real requires showing up on the bad days, not just the good ones. They weren't ready to be seen fully, because when someone like you enters the picture, someone with depth, loyalty, intensity and vision, it exposes how shallow they've been swimming, and instead of rising to meet you, they ran. Cowards always run from the truth. But truth doesn't go away just because you avoid it. It waits. And now, it's knocking on their door, whispering, "You played yourself." Because here's the truth they're choking on. When you play a chosen one, you don't just lose the relationship. You lose access to something divine. You lose access to a once-in-a-lifetime frequency. And that frequency, it doesn't chase, it doesn't beg. It evolves, it upgrades. And when it rises, oh, the ones who slept on it start waking up. Too late. So now they sit on the sidelines, watching you glow, watching you win, watching the confetti fall on the side of the court they never thought you'd rise from. They told themselves it was a game. But games have rules. And the first rule of real love is, don't play with someone who was never pretending. You were the truth. They gambled on a lie. And now they're stuck replaying every moment in their head where they could have chosen better, but didn't. This isn't just karma. This is the consequence of not recognizing gold because it wasn't loud, flashy, or attention-seeking. You were quiet power, silent loyalty, and they traded it for noise. Now, all that noise turned into echoes, empty ones. So here we are, chosen one. This is the part where you stop mourning the loss and realize they didn't break your heart. They broke their legacy. They didn't reject you. They rejected their only shot at something real. And now, you walk into your next chapter not as someone who was abandoned, but as the one who was too much for the unworthy. They played games and lost the championship, but you became the entire league. And oh, don't go anywhere, chosen one. This wasn't even the first quarter. That was just warm-up. The real game, it's about to begin. So stick around, because we're about to break down exactly how they fumbled you, how they lost everything trying to chase the illusion, and why the scoreboard will never read in their favor again. If you've ever been thrown aside, underestimated or replaced like you were nothing, this is your full circle moment. Drop a comment with the number 777 if you're done letting clowns turn your worth into a circus. And if this message hits home and you feel like fueling this mission, bless the squad behind it with a super thanks. That energy keeps this truth train running, unfiltered and untouchable. Now let's really get into it, step by step. If you're the kind of chosen one who feels every word like a mirror being held to your past, you won't want to leave. Your soul's gonna demand you stay, because what's coming next isn't just explanation, it's revelation. Let's start the breakdown. The truth, the proof, and the ultimate regret they'll never shake. Let's go. Number 1. Oh, so you thought you could clone a storm. They thought they could replace the thunder, but all they summoned was static. Let's just get this straight right now. They didn't just lose you, chosen one. They lost the whole damn weather system. And now they're sitting in dead silence, wondering why the air don't crackle anymore, why the energy's flat, why everything feels off. Because you weren't just a spark, you were the entire storm front. And here's the sick truth they're choking on. Storms like you don't get recreated. You get remembered. You get regretted. They really thought they could copy you, like your loyalty, your patience, your intensity was something they could just download into someone else, like you were just a vibe. Nah, you were a force of nature. You were built from betrayal, molded by pain, and refined in isolation. You don't clone that. You survive it. You don't replicate it. You earn it. Now imagine this, chosen one. Imagine someone throwing away a hand-sculpted diamond because it didn't sparkle enough in the dark, and then trying to replace it with a cheap, machine-made crystal they found on sale. Shiny, soulless, and mass-produced. That's what they did. And now, that crystal's already cracking under pressure while the diamond they threw away, oh, it's glowing now, not because it needed validation, but because real things shine on their own when the time is right. Let's throw in some reality. Did you know over 80% of people who jump from one relationship to another without healing often face deep regret within the first year? Not because the new person was bad, but because once the distraction fades, they realize they didn't replace the energy. They replaced the person holding it. And the energy? It doesn't transfer. Your presence was built on authenticity, deep emotional intelligence, and spiritual stamina. That's not copy-paste. That's one of one. They're learning the hard way that charisma without character is useless. That cute face doesn't hold a candle to your silence. That fun personality can't outlast the depth of your soul. They thought they were trading difficulty for peace, but all they really did was swap growth for comfort, and comfort always decays. Chosen one, let me hit you with this. When you're the original, every attempt to recreate you looks like a knockoff. They might have tried to paint someone else in your colors, but the shade was wrong. The vibe was off. The energy was flat, because the brush was in the hands of someone who never understood the masterpiece they already had. Let's pull this into some perspective. Look at Steve Jobs, fired from his own company, replaced, dismissed, treated like a problem. But the blueprint he laid, no one could match it. So what happened? He returned, not begging, not apologizing, but elevated. Same with Oprah. Denied, pushed out, told she wasn't fit for television. Guess what? She became the television. People forget until they remember. And then they can't forget you fast enough. So now the enemy's sitting there, scrolling, searching, replaying your last conversation, stalking your page, comparing every new person to you, and losing every single time. Not because you're haunting them, but because truth echoes, and fake love can't drown it out. You ever wonder why they're so quiet now? Why they act like they don't care? That's guilt, baby. That's pride with a side of denial. They're ashamed because they know they chose easy over extraordinary. They know they had lightning in their hands and treated it like a flashlight, and now they're left fumbling in the dark. And you might ask yourself, why me? Why did they do that to me? Because you triggered them. Your presence called them out. Your energy held up a mirror to everything they refused to face. You didn't just love them, you exposed them. And when someone ain't ready to grow, they'll choose anything that lets them stay small. But don't get it twisted. Their inability to recognize your value doesn't lower it. Diamonds buried in mud are still diamonds. It just means they weren't equipped to handle the shine. And now, they're squinting from the sidelines as you glow harder than ever before, wondering how they ever thought they could replace you with some store-bought spark. They'll call it bad luck. They'll blame bad timing. They'll even gaslight themselves into believing you were too much. But deep down, they know. They know they tossed a storm and caught a drizzle. They know the vibe ain't vibing anymore. They know the glow they're chasing in someone else ain't theirs to have. Because it was never the person, it was always you. So let that fuel you, chosen one. You weren't too intense. You were too real for the fake room they were trying to party in. And now they're stuck in the aftermath of their own choices. Regret has no rewind button. And you've outgrown their level entirely. You're not meant to be recreated. You're meant to be remembered. You're not the draft. You're the final edition. Let them live in the illusion they chose. You've got storms to summon, worlds to build, and legacies to leave behind. This wasn't a loss. It was a reveal. And what it revealed is that you were never replaceable. You were rare, and they don't get a second shot at rare. Let the silence speak. Let the absence scream. Let the energy correct everything they tried to distort. Because one day, when they're sitting across from another version of fun that don't hit right, they'll remember the quiet power you carried, the way you held them without asking for attention, the way your loyalty was loud, even when your mouth wasn't, the way you showed up, even when they didn't. They'll remember. And by then, you'll be gone. Gone, but glowing. Gone, but elevated. Gone, but unforgettable. And that That's a loss they'll never recover from. Number 2. Heart? Nah, they just had hollow chests. They said they had heart, but when it came time to show up, all you heard was the echo of nothing. Chosen. 1. Let's stop sugarcoating what happened. You showed up full of loyalty, depth, patience, emotional weight. You came with your whole chest, heart wide open, love dripping from every corner of your being like it actually meant something. Meanwhile, they pulled up with a cardboard cutout of care, rehearsed affection, and just enough sparkle to distract you from the fact that they were empty on the inside. No soul, no loyalty, no real love. Just a hollow chest echoing with the sound of fakeness. They were all performance, no presence. All appearance, no essence. They mimicked love like a parrot mimics words, loud, repetitive, but never understanding what the hell they're actually saying. They treated "I love you" like it was a password, not a promise. And you mistook their shallow for still waters. You dove in, thinking it was an ocean, only to hit the bottom in 2 feet. And now they're confused why they're drowning in regret while you're learning how to fly. Let me hit you with something cold and true. Not everyone who looks like love is love. Some people dress it up, wear it like a costume, flex it for attention. They love the feeling of being loved, but they never learned how to love back. And when someone like you enters their life, someone with depth, with stability, with emotional firepower, they panic because your energy doesn't just hold them, it exposes them. Now imagine this, chosen one. Someone builds a house out of paper and invites you inside. But you bring fire, not to destroy, but because that's just your nature. You burn bright, and they blame you when the whole place collapses. That's what happened. Your intensity revealed their hollowness. Your loyalty called out their flakiness. Your love was too heavy for someone who was only pretending to carry. There's a reason they couldn't hold you. You were a mirror, not a mask. You reflected their cracks. You revealed how emotionally lazy they really were. They wanted to coast. You wanted to build. They wanted to play house. You wanted to build a home. They wanted love that didn't require work. You were love that demanded truth. And that's where the fracture started. You may be wondering now, why would someone pretend to care? Why fake love in the first place? Simple, because being around someone real feels good until it starts requiring growth. And growth feels like work to people who've never looked in the mirror. So instead of rising to meet you, they retreat into their shallow safety net. They chase glitter. They cling to convenience. They reach for the easy connection, the one that doesn't challenge their immaturity. And what they find? Emptiness in a prettier package. There's a psychological concept called emotional mimicry. People use it to copy the body language, tone, and behaviors of those they want to connect with, but without actually feeling the emotion. Sound familiar? That's what they did. They studied you, copied you, borrowed your rhythm. But it was always a performance. When the spotlight faded, so did the act. And now that the stage is empty, so are they. Meanwhile, you're rising, because pain sharpens, because rejection from the fake is redirection toward the real. They lost access to something you were willing to give fully. You were all in. You were ready to ride through storms, hold them through breakdowns, pour into them even when your own cup was half full. And they still left. Why? Because they weren't equipped to receive what you carried. They weren't used to someone showing up with no hidden agenda. That terrified them. Your realness threatened their facade. And now, they're stuck with someone who matches their emotional shallowness, someone who can't challenge them, doesn't require depth, and definitely won't help them grow. Cute, but empty. Entertaining, but forgettable. Let's bring in a real-world reminder. Marilyn Monroe once said, "If you can't handle me at my worst, you sure as hell don't deserve me at my best." That's you, chosen one. They couldn't even handle your average. They didn't have the capacity for your honesty, your moods, your sacred messiness, but they were quick to enjoy the beauty, the devotion, the shine. That ain't love, that's consumption. And now, they're hungry again, starving. Because hollow-chested people always need someone to fill them. But you're no longer on the menu. You figured out the difference between being valued and being used. And once that switch flipped, game over. You didn't just leave the table, you burned the whole damn restaurant and built your own. You ever notice how they always come back around? Like clockwork, like a ghost sniffing around a place it once haunted. But what they're really coming back for isn't closure, it's access. Access to the version of you that still loved them through the lies. But that version, dead, buried, upgraded, and the new you, doesn't speak the language of hollow hearts anymore. And here's the sting. The replacement can't fill your shoes because they were never designed for the journey. You were built for endurance. They were built for Instagram captions. You were forged in the kind of pain that turns you into a healer. They were formed by attention and validation, and without it, they're just empty containers with a nice filter. So now they sit with their safe new connection, the one that doesn't question their habits, doesn't challenge their trauma, and definitely doesn't hold them accountable. But safety without depth is just a padded coffin. And while they rot in comfort, you evolve in silence. Chosen one, they didn't reject you. They exposed themselves. Your only job now, keep building, keep loving deeper, but only give that heart of yours to people who don't treat it like a souvenir. Because a hollow chest can only echo the love it's missing. It can't generate it. And when someone who has a real heart, a scarred, beating, alive one, walks away, that echo becomes unbearable. And trust me, they hear it every night. Number 3, they picked a mask over a mirror. They didn't want honesty. They wanted a pretty lie that wouldn't talk back. Let's make one thing real clear, chosen one. They didn't pick better. They picked easier. They didn't choose someone with depth, soul, or backbone. They chose someone who could play pretend without ever asking real questions. Because truth makes cowards uncomfortable, and you were a walking mirror. You reflected everything they were running from. Their insecurities, their lack of growth, their emotional immaturity. So what did they do? They traded that reflection for a mask, something glossy, empty, safe. They weren't ready for someone who saw them fully. You didn't just see the version they showed to the world. You saw their wounds. You saw the broken pieces behind the charm. You saw the scared kid behind the ego. And instead of letting that truth heal them, they ran from it. Because being exposed feels like a threat when you're living a lie. Now imagine this. They're standing next to someone who photographs well, who says all the right things in front of an audience, who posts love like it's a content strategy. But when the lights go off, there's no substance, no presence, no weight. It's like hugging a hologram. Looks real until you try to feel it. That's who they picked, and every time they smile next to that mask, deep down, they know they downgraded. You may be asking, why would they trade real love for fake comfort? Because real love doesn't let you hide. Real love holds you accountable. Real love demands growth, vulnerability, communication, and the kind of emotional transparency that burns through ego. You gave them that, and they mistook your rawness for too much. But what they couldn't handle was the purity. They thought they were being overwhelmed, but really, they were being seen. The universe knows your heart, chosen one. It saw what you gave, how you poured from a place of truth. That energy isn't lost, it's building momentum. While they cling to their mask, you're becoming the mirror they were too afraid to face. And soon, they'll be begging for reflection again, because surface love always runs out of air. Let them keep the costume. You were the character development. Number 4. Accountability. Never met them. You didn't lose them. They ducked the mirror before it showed them who they really were. Let's not sugarcoat it, chosen one. They weren't built for real. Not then, not now, and probably not anytime soon. Every time things got real, they vanished like fog in sunlight. The moment love required effort, honesty, or healing, they folded. Because accountability isn't just about saying, "I'm sorry." It's about being sorry enough to change, and change terrifies cowards. Growth exposes the parts they've been hiding behind charm, jokes, or good looks. So they ran. Because disappearing is easier than evolving. They want love that looks good, not love that makes them good. You offered real connection, built on raw truth, emotional intimacy, and inner work. But that kind of love, it doesn't come with shortcuts. It's forged in fire, sculpted in hard conversations, and matured in humility. And they couldn't even spell accountability, let alone embody it. Let's break it down with a fact. Studies show that emotionally avoidant people often sabotage meaningful relationships because deep connections feel like exposure. They fear vulnerability because it makes them feel powerless. But here's the twist. You were never trying to overpower them. You were trying to build with them. But they mistook your depth for danger and your honesty for threat, because they've only ever known survival, not connection. Now imagine this. You hand them a map to growth, and instead of following it, they rip it up and call you too intense. You ask for clarity, and they call it drama. You try to open a door, and they bolt out the back window. That's not love. That's emotional cowardice dressed in cute excuses. But the universe doesn't reward avoidance, it rewards alignment. And you, chosen one, were aligned with something higher. Real love, truth, evolution. They weren't rejecting you, they were dodging the mirror. And in doing so, they confirmed what you already suspected. They don't know how to show up when it's no longer easy. So let them run, let them stay soft in their avoidance bubble, because while they're hiding from growth, you're becoming the person they could have evolved beside. The universe is with you, not them, and soon they'll realize they didn't just run from the relationship, they ran from their own rise. Number 5. They wanted the finish line, not the grind. They wanted the trophy, but skipped the training. Now they're winded just chasing your ghost. Chosen one, let's be real. They weren't in love with you, they were in love with your results. The glow, the confidence, the calm power that you earned through pain and patience. They wanted that energy without doing the work that created it. You were busy building a legacy while they were looking for a shortcut to validation. You had purpose. They had a playlist of excuses. You were running a marathon, pacing yourself with intention. They were sprinting in circles, flexing for the crowd, pretending they knew where the finish line even was. They didn't want to build with you. They wanted to arrive with you. And that's the difference between a partner and a passenger. You were chasing growth, peace, and alignment with the universe. They were chasing comfort, attention, and applause. So when the relationship required discipline, honesty, and consistency, they tapped out. Because people who want fast results never last in slow processes. They thought they could skip chapters and still star in the story. But life doesn't hand out trophies for tourists. Now imagine this. You're constructing a skyscraper brick by brick. Every late night, every heartbreak, every failure, all fuel. Meanwhile, they're outside spray painting a cardboard building, trying to make it look like success. And now that their illusion's collapsing, they're acting shocked, like gravity betrayed them. No, sweetheart, gravity just exposed them, because foundations built on lies don't hold weight. You might be wondering, why would they trade something solid for something superficial? Simple. Shortcuts feel good until the bill shows up. They wanted peace without accountability, intimacy without effort, commitment without consistency. And you were never a quick fix. You were the test they couldn't cheat on. The universe saw your grind, chosen one. It watched you keep showing up, even after being underestimated, mocked, replaced. That kind of consistency creates miracles. And now, the same people who left you for something easier are realizing easy doesn't equal better. They chose the fast lane, but forgot slow roads build character. They wanted the finish line. You became the marathon. Let them stay lost with someone who can't read the map. You've got destinations written in the stars. Number 6. They invested in a facade, and it collapsed. They thought they found solid ground, but it was just wet cement waiting to swallow their fantasy whole. Oh, chosen one! They really thought they hit the jackpot, didn't they? Thought they made a power move. Upgrade, they told themselves, as if love was a product you swipe for, as if you were the outdated model, and this shiny new option was the luxury edition. So they poured their time, their attention, their fake loyalty into someone who looked stable, perfect, easier, but turns out that person was all surface and no structure. They weren't a rock, they were a mask glued to a mirage. And now, that facade they invested in, it's in ruins, collapsed, done. They're sitting in the wreckage like, what happened? What happened is, you chose appearance over authenticity, performance over presence, and now the show's over. The curtain fell, and behind it, nothing but insecurity, selfishness, and vibes so hollow they echo. Let me paint this clearer. Imagine investing all your savings into a house that looks beautiful from the outside, shiny windows, modern finishes, picture-perfect curb appeal. But once you step inside, the floorboards creak, the plumbing's leaking, and termites have eaten the foundation. That's who they chose. And now, they're stuck living in emotional mold, pretending it's a palace. You were the real deal, not perfect, but solid, someone who would have helped them build, heal, evolve. But they didn't want the process. They wanted the illusion of security, and illusions, they don't last. They're built on sand, and the first wave of conflict, boredom, or emotional demand collapse. You might ask yourself, why would they risk everything for something so fake? Because people who don't value themselves seek validation through aesthetics. They choose what looks good on paper. They chase the partner that looks good for the crowd, instead of the one who feels good for the soul. You were depth, and they chose decoration. And the universe, it doesn't play favorites, it plays fair. You plant fake, you grow fake. They sowed lies, and now they're reaping regret. Meanwhile, you, the one they thought would stay down, are rising, stronger, louder, untouchable. Let them cry over the wreckage they built. You're already building higher, with bricks made of truth, pain, and purpose. Number 7. Morally bankrupt, emotionally declined. They overdrafted your energy, bounced their loyalty check, and now the universe just froze their emotional account. Let's call it what it is, chosen one. They're broke. Not in the wallet, but in the soul, spiritually overdrawn, emotionally bankrupt, morally declined. They walked out of something sacred with you, thinking they made a boss move. But now they're realizing they didn't cash in. They cashed out. They gave up authenticity for aesthetics, substance for clout, real connection for temporary comfort. And now, their karma bill just dropped. And baby, it doesn't come with a payment plan. You were the deposit they didn't know how to manage. You gave loyalty when it wasn't trendy, patience when it wasn't deserved, truth when all they wanted was silence, and they treated you like a transaction. Give a little, take a lot, then vanish. But here's the cosmic twist. When you withdraw from someone who's spiritually wealthy, someone chosen, and you do it with lies, games, and fake flexes, you don't just lose them. You lose access to the entire abundance that followed them. See, people like that think they're players, but they're really addicts, addicted to attention, status, praise. And when the high runs out, they come crawling back, overdrafted with regret. But by then, the door is locked. Because the universe don't do re-entries once the energy is corrected. Now picture this. They jumped ship thinking the next boat was a yacht, but it was a plastic floaty with a slow leak. You were the whole vessel. You were built to weather storms, but they couldn't handle the waves, so they swam toward shallow waters, thinking peace lived there. Turns out that peace was just quiet before the collapse. And you might be wondering, do they feel it? Do they regret it? Oh, absolutely. Not just in silence, in symptoms, in the way everything they touch turns cold, in the way nothing feels right anymore. That's what happens when you betray a chosen one. It's not revenge, it's realignment. The universe pulls its blessings back and leaves them with what they truly are, empty. Let them sit in spiritual bankruptcy. Your account? It's rising daily, backed by truth, protected by the universe, and secured by everything they fumbled. Keep going, chosen one. You're the wealth they never deserved. Number 8. The illusion was shiny until the lights turned on. They sold you a magic show but forgot the crowd leaves when the lights reveal the wires. Oh, chosen one, you saw the glimmer, didn't you? The way they put on the act. Perfect smiles, calculated kindness, words that dripped like honey but felt hollow if you listened close. It was all sparkle, no spine. But now the performance is falling apart. The lights are on, the crowd's gone, and the mask is slipping faster than their excuses. They're sitting in silence, trying to act unbothered. But behind those dead stares, they're haunted. They tried to dazzle you with illusion, a version of themselves built for show, not substance. And maybe for a while, they convinced you, or even worse, convinced themselves that they were enough. But here's the kicker. Truth has a way of creeping in, even through cracks they tried to seal with lies. And now that truth is sitting in their living room, feet up, sipping from a glass labeled consequences. You ever seen a magician sweat when the trick stops working? That's them. They ran out of sleight of hand. They burned through every lie, every distraction, every fake version of love they tried to sell. Because real connection doesn't need an audience. It thrives in the dark, where masks melt and souls meet. You were always real, and that terrified them. They didn't want a partner, they wanted a prop, someone to stand still and look good while they ran the show. But you weren't built to be background, you were born to be the spotlight. And when you started asking real questions, when your energy demanded honesty, the illusion cracked like glass under pressure. Now they're stuck in the aftermath, watching their better choice glitch under emotional weight, watching the show fall apart, because what they left you for can't hold a candle to your consistency. What they ran toward can't hold the fire of your presence. and what they're pretending doesn't bother them. Eats them alive in silence. You might ask, do they miss me? Do they even care? Oh, they care. They care in the way they avoid your name, in the way they replay your words in the dark, in the way their new peace feels like punishment because they thought they were escaping. But all they did was trade magic for mirrors. And now? They can't look in one without seeing you. The universe doesn't reward deception, it exposes it. And you, chosen one, were the light switch. You didn't destroy their illusion, you just made it impossible for them to keep living in it. That's why they're haunted. Not by you, but by what they could have become if they just kept it real. But it's too late now. The curtain's closed, and your glow? It's too bright to fake. Keep rising. The spotlight is yours now. Number 9. You were the marathon. They wanted a sprint. They got tired halfway through your journey and called you too much. No, they were just too weak. Let's not twist this, chosen one. You were never too intense, too deep, or too complicated. You were just long-distance love in a world that only knows short-term thrills. You were the marathon, the kind of soul that stretches time, demands training, builds strength, and only gets better the longer it lasts. But they showed up with sprint shoes, a fake grin, and zero stamina. They wanted quick wins, not real work. They wanted convenience, not commitment. And the second your path required patience and endurance, they bowed out like it was your fault. They weren't built for longevity. They wanted the kind of love that feels like fireworks, not the kind that feels like a sunrise, slow, steady, inevitable, and real. They confused momentum with meaning, chemistry with character. And in doing so, they fumbled a soul designed to go the distance. Now picture this, you're running a marathon, lungs on fire, legs burning, but your eyes are on legacy, and right beside you is someone who's checking their watch, asking how much longer, whining about the pace, looking for exits. That's who they were. Not a partner, a placeholder. And when they left, they didn't quit on you. They quit on themselves. You might be wondering, why would someone choose temporary over timeless? Because temporary doesn't require transformation. Because sprinting is about speed, not soul. And they were terrified of the version of themselves they'd have to become to keep up with you. You required growth. You demanded presence. You asked for real effort. That's not hard. That's rare. But to someone lazy in the heart, that's a threat. So they ran toward what was easier, simpler, slower, and ended up with someone who only has enough depth to walk beside them in circles. And the universe, it watched all of it. It saw how far you were willing to go, how many chances you gave, how many times you chose them, even when they didn't choose you. That energy doesn't vanish. It multiplies. You planted love in a soil that couldn't handle it, but now that love is growing elsewhere, stronger and surrounded by people who get it. Let them keep their sprint. You're built for marathons, and this finish line, it's only visible to those who never stopped running. Keep moving. The universe is pacing with you. Number 10. Regret tastes bitter when you served sweet. They thought your love would wait forever. Now it's gone cold, and they're choking on the silence they created. Let's talk about the pain they don't post about, chosen one. The kind that doesn't look dramatic, but eats them alive when no one's watching. They thought you'd always be there, arms open, heart soft, patience on standby. They thought you were infinite, but you weren't. You were available. There's a difference. You gave them something pure, something sweet, something that could have healed every wound they pretended didn't exist. And how did they respond? They ignored it. They played with it. They treated your sweetness like a safety net instead of a blessing. But now they're sitting in the aftermath. The sugar rush is gone, the distraction wore off, and what they're left with is silence, not just yours, but their own. Because even they can't defend what they did. Their pride won't let them admit it, but the regret, it's loud. Louder than every lie they told themselves, louder than every fake laugh with the person they downgraded to, louder than the image they're still trying to maintain. You see, regret hits different when you were nothing but good to someone. That's the kind of pain they can't shake off. They can avoid you, ignore you, block you, but they can't unfeel what you gave them. That kindness haunts them. That patience makes their new peace feel hollow. That warmth you offered. It doesn't exist in their current situation, because what they chose was safe, not sacred. They know now. Oh, they know, but they'll never say it. Why? Because pride eats humility for breakfast. They'd rather suffer in silence than admit they broke something they can't rebuild. They'd rather pretend they're unbothered than admit they'd give anything to have one more chance to do it right. But that window's closed, that sweetness they took for granted, gone. And you might ask, will they ever apologize? Maybe, maybe not, but that's not your concern anymore. The universe saw what you served, and the universe remembers who wasted it. Now they've got a mouthful of bitterness and nowhere to spit it. Let them taste every bite. You've moved on, full, clean, and sweeter than ever. Number 11. You can't fake divine energy. They tried, anyway. They copied the look, mimicked the tone, stole the words, but the universe don't bless counterfeits. Chosen one, let's make something painfully clear. They didn't just miss you, they tried to be you. After they walked away, they didn't move on. They went into replication mode, studied your vibe like it was a formula, tried to copy your grace, your language, your whole frequency. They watched how people lit up around you. They saw how effortlessly you moved, how magnetic your presence was, and they thought, maybe I can duplicate that. Cute, but dangerous. Because divine energy isn't something you borrow. It's something you embody. And you were handcrafted. One of one. Energy that can't be downloaded. They really thought the glow came from your clothes, your captions, your playlist. But your glow, that was soul deep. That was forged through silence, through heartbreak, through rejection. That was energy refined by pressure, like diamonds that took years to form. And they tried to slap a filter on it and call it the same? Nah, that's not how this game works. The universe doesn't co-sign imposters. Now imagine this. They walk into a room, wearing your energy like a costume, saying what you say, moving how you move, even posting the quotes you once lived by, but nobody's responding the same. Why? Because energy don't lie. People feel real before they understand it. They sense the void. They sense the mimicry. And deep down, so do they. That's why they stay restless, because they know they're performing a role that doesn't belong to them. And here's the part that hits hardest. The more they try to act like you, the more they realize what they lost. Because divine energy isn't loud. It doesn't chase. It doesn't beg to be understood. It just is. It fills rooms without explanation. It heals without touch. It moves people without trying. That's what you were, and that's what they walked away from. You might ask, why try to copy what they discarded? Because people don't realize what they had until they see it shining in someone else's eyes. They miss your aura, not just your actions. And now they're out here, trying to bottle lightning with plastic hands, wondering why it keeps slipping through. Let them keep trying. Let them run in circles, trying to become what the universe already anointed you to be. They can imitate your flow, but they'll drown trying to carry your current. Because this path, it was tailored for your soul, not theirs. So stand tall, chosen one. Your light was never meant to be duplicated, only respected. And the more they try to fake it, the more the universe reminds them, you can't forge the divine. You either are or you're not. And you are. Number 12. And now, they watch you win from the nosebleeds. They fumbled front row access. Now they're squinting from the cheap seats, watching the legend they could have grown with become untouchable. Let's bring this full circle, chosen one. They thought they had time, thought you'd always be there, thought they could play you, delay you, betray you, and you'd still be in their corner like a backup plan with feelings. But the truth is, they weren't ready for greatness. Not yours. Not even close. They thought your value was optional until it started shining in places they can't reach anymore. Now they're in the nosebleeds, clutching regret like a trophy they didn't earn, watching the very person they overlooked become the main event. They didn't just lose a relationship. They lost the front row view to a glow-up the universe personally sponsored. You didn't switch up. You leveled up. You didn't get revenge. You got in alignment. And now the same person who once rolled their eyes at your loyalty, your love, your vision, is watching strangers admire what they took for granted. That hits different. And the silence. It's not peace. It's punishment, because they're watching you thrive without them, succeed without spite, evolve without making a single announcement. You stopped explaining your worth. You became it. And from where they're sitting, high up in the back, with no access, no influence, no entry, that truth is deafening. Now imagine this. They're scrolling, seeing your wins, feeling that tightness in their chest. That's not jealousy. That's awareness. The realization that they fumbled someone rare. Not just hard to find rare. Once in a lifetime rare. You were the golden ticket, and they used it to chase clout in a rigged arcade. You might ask, do they regret it? Oh, chosen one, they don't just regret it, they ache, because they're witnessing what happens when divine energy moves on, when someone chosen stops shrinking, stops waiting, and starts owning their crown. You were never meant to stay small. That was their comfort zone, not yours. Let them keep watching. Let them sit in the back and clap from a distance. They had access to the real thing, and they dropped it like it was replaceable. Now, they've been permanently locked out of the arena. And you? You're on stage, center spotlight, living the win they thought you'd never reach without them. You are the main event, and they'll never get that seat back. And so, chosen one, the game is over, and you didn't just survive, you won. They played themselves trying to replace you, only to realize too late that you were the championship. Let them sit in silence while you rise in purpose. The universe always sides with the real. If this message hit deep, don't leave empty-handed. Drop 777 in the comments to confirm your comeback. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to remember who they are. Thank you for being part of this mission. Your energy keeps this truth alive. You are chosen. Never forget it.